men jeg skal bruke den til å se på. Jeg kan ikke vente til å se meg, for da har du sett det her.
Du er her.
We can hear you already, somebody says. Hello. Hello from Mexico. Hello from Argentina. Moscow. I played live in Moscow in 2003, and that was nice. And from Trondheim. You can see me and hear me clearly. That's really good. That's really good. I have you here. I'm just waiting a few minutes before we start, because maybe somebody needs to get a coffee or you know, a glass of wine or whatever they drink. Hello from Denmark and Italy, Bulgaria, Cyprus. Oh my God, this is so nice. New York, Antwerp. I see more people are joining us. That's really nice. Chile, Poland. Take your time. We have no hurry. That's nice, Simon. Thank you. And all the way from Dhaka. Yes, perfect. And Athens. Hello. Hello from Mexico. Hello from Slovakia. Chile. Wonderful. Welcome everyone to my home. This is where I play music, write songs, and I have decided to make a little concept called Behind the Songs, that I will talk a little bit about, you know, what inspired me to make music, and go more into details, and discuss also with guests, and of course with you guys if you have any questions, and maybe play a few songs, but mostly, you know, just chat. And so this is actually, of course, as you know, the first time, so I'm really excited and a bit nervous about how it will turn out.
I'm nervous too.
Yes, and I have my husband is here. He's in charge of the technician. Hello, Frode. Do you see him in the street?
I have, maybe.
Yeah, you have. Okay, good. On today's show, we have a guest, that is Jostein Ansnes, who I had been so lucky to work with for many years. He's been producing all my 3 previous albums and also the new one. And we will talk very much about the single that I have out now, that is Sørgekåpe. We will touch upon the new album that will be out May 8th. And we will also talk about playing live, because that's what Jostein and I have done a lot, because he's a good guitarist as well. And Frode, you are welcome to say something if you want to, of course.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. And Frode is also a keyboard player, so I'm a bit nervous now to play the piano, but okay. And of course, I have got some questions for you that I will we will talk about also. So that's wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. So let me see if I'm looking at the stream now. Thank you for nice comments. Hello, Frode, someone says.
Hello.
Donny Martin says. That's
Hello.
Nice. Yeah, so they sense that I'm a bit nervous, but that will be okay. That's good. Okay, let me play a little bit for you now. This is Sørgekåpe. And this is a piano version of Sørgekåpe.
The demo first.
Yeah, it's the demo version actually. So I will sing into this microphone. Do you hear this microphone? We'll see. Er det gull hvis det glitrer? Er det sant hvis du tror? Gir et liv fortsatt mening? Hvis ingen har ord som beskriver hva vi gjør her, som får oss til å le, som maler over det dystre vi ikke hanskes med, så ble natt til dag, kjenner ubehag, kan ikke hindre lys som slipper inn. Jeg lar det skje, allting kan endres ved et vingeslag fra en sørgekåpe. Regnet pisker mot kinnet, jeg har sko med hard hæl, bærer fortsatt på minnet av stolthet et sted med øyne av is, med hender av glør, trenger ingen gjennom, og ingen spør, så ble natt til dag, kjenner ubehag, kan ikke hindre lys som slipper inn. Jeg lar det skje, allting kan endres ved et vingeslag fra en sørgekåpe. Yeah, well, so that was how Sørgekåpe sounded in the beginning. And in this song, I wanted to talk. Yeah. So I would like to introduce to you the guest for tonight. Here is Jostein Ansnes. So Jostein, how are you?
I'm pretty okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How is
good.
the situation in? Because you are in your home in Liverpool.
I am. Yeah. Well, it's obviously it's very strange times. It's England is in completely locked down, so we're allowed to go out like an hour per day. Try to do a little bit of exercise, but yeah. So no, it's really strange time. But at the same time, we're doing well as a family, and we're okay.
I'm glad to hear. And it's of course important that we all stay at home because, yeah, it's a common responsibility that we have. But it's of course also, yeah, it's a special time.
It is, and I mean, we're quite lucky. We live south in Liverpool, where it's a lot of space. We live well, literally between strawberry fields and John Lennon's house and Penny Lane. So we're kind of in the middle there. But there's a lot of parks and a lot of space. So at least we got that. So we can, like, today I went for a walk for an hour and you don't really see a lot of people. So it's more like living on the countryside, to be honest, than living in a city.
That's good. That's good. In Trondheim, where I live, we also have a lot of space around us. So it's we don't necessarily meet anybody if we go outside, but we choose to stay at home, of course, as well. And to talk about my favorite topic, the weather, I just have to say that in Trondheim now it is snowing so much. It's unbelievable.
Well, we've got 20 degrees, so we were working in the garden yesterday, and it was really nice. It's been like a really nice. It's probably the best summer England will get. These 3 days been fantastic, to be honest.
Oh, that's good. That's good. We are still waiting for the spring. Okay, but Jostein, let's talk about Sørgekåpa. Because this is basically how I played it now. That is basically how you heard it the first time. And we wanted to put kind of like, because it's very like the chords are very much like. So you wanted them to be a bit more like open, is that right?
Well, I mean, obviously, you got to add something as a producer. That's you're supposed to know. No, but when I heard that line, because you had a lot of songs, and obviously we're probably gonna speak more about the record later or another time. But when it comes to this song, it was just like a very basic line, very like it's kind of a standard progression, which I really like. You know, there's a lot of song based on that bass line you had, and I really love the song. But then I was thinking to try to get away from that little bit of that standard chord kind of structure. Keep the simplicity, keep it very simple, and keep the lovely melody. So I started thinking about like a kind of tuning I used quite a lot. I'm trying not to be too nerdy here now, so I'm trying, but I used to like more like when I was first introduced to African music back in the 90s. I used to play in a band called Dadafoon, and the singer was very inspired by African music. I was very inspired by King Crimson, the 80s albums, Discipline, Blue, Three of a Perfect Pair, which again is very inspired by African music. But I'm quite lazy, so I didn't really, when I heard them Kora things and things like that, I really didn't go all the way down to try to find out exactly what it was. But I kind of came up with a guitar tuning, which I thought sounded quite African, which is like very open sound. And I used that tuning a lot with Dadafoon in like late 90s, early 2000. And then I kind of left it, started playing more like with songwriters and just like standard tunings. So the first time I used it again was literally when I produced your like the Time to Tell album on a song called Only You Know.
Yeah, the last song on the album.
Yeah. but when we worked together in Dream Farm in Sunadal, which was a lovely experience, by the way. It's my home village, and they've built a lovely studio there. And I was thinking maybe that's the time to now. It's the time to kind of get that tuning back on again and try to add it into your universe. So
Yeah,
that
and also
so then it started coming up like something like this. Instead of the a chord progression you played, it came up. Simple, just like a child song.
that's nice.
So everyone can literally play it. If you know the tuning, it's just like everyone out there can just play that. But then I came up with this little riff around it, which is obviously it's the intro and it's the middle part and the outro, which is based on the same tuning, and it goes like something like this. Then obviously the verse. Like I played it. So
Yeah.
quite simple.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting. And I also think that the way that you have this open harmony, it's also kind of ethnic, like an ethnic approach to it. And that was Frode, what did you say?
Johan de Ridder asked, is it a special tuning on your guitar there, Jostein?
Yeah, it is. It's based on if I obviously a lot of my guitar playing through the years has been based on this tuning and the capo. You know, when I started, I thought like capo was just like for the singer-songwriters that only could like 3 chords.
Yeah, nothing
So
wrong
when
with the capo, I have to say.
no. But when the kind of songs went into different keys, they only they just needed to move that
It's
kind of thing.
perfect tool.
So I started getting this little bit of a style with a capo and this tuning. So the tuning is literally based. If I take this capo off, it's based on, like I said, an open tuning. So it's a D, an A, a D, a G, A, and an E. So it's literally that string is dropped down and that string
You
is
don't
dropped
see
down.
your guitar. I don't know if it's possible.
This is how it sounds. And then you can obviously use the capo and transform it to what key you like.
Wonderful. But also, I think because we discussed you and I that open chords also is kind of ethnic for many cultures. So that
Of course, yeah,
because it's
definitely. I mean, yeah, I think it adds a little bit of that. Whether you call it like I came up with it based on like a kind of an African kind of thing, and King Crimson, where obviously you started in the more like the prog rock thing.
Yeah.
But obviously that openness and that added a 9, which you get that feeling could be transformed to a lot of the Norwegian folk music as well. So I think this like this sound's got a little bit of a Scandinavian or even Nordic sound.
So it's,
I mean, it could be like Scandinavian Nordic sound.
Because I think definitely it's for me it's very much like a Nordic sounding way of using melodies, and I think also for Sørge Koppe it was important to kind of go a little bit back to the roots. And a question from that came in before today was from Lefteris to Reas, and he asks what basic element inspired you for the new album and to use the voice more as a basic instrument for your new songs, and also the fact that I sing in Norwegian and compose in Norwegian. And to narrow it down for this song, I think it was a song that I think suited the Norwegian language very well. It was a bit like it's a personal lyrics, but it's also the way of that's how you with the open chords kind of underline that Norwegian or Nordic, as you said, sound, which I think with the Norwegian language it kind of is a good elements that kind of suits well with each other.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, and I think the, that song is very much about trust as well. Obviously, we've been working together for a long time, and what I literally did was like kind of ruining your chord structure and say like, hang on, just like leave it, just keep the melody, and I'll find something to play under. And that kind of trust has obviously been building up through the years, and that we've been working. We know we want the same at the end. It's just sometimes it can be like a little bit bumpy road to end up there, but it's still, you know, I think we've got like a kind of, we trust each other we know we are on this same kind of route to somewhere.
Yeah, and I think that's very much like the base for a good production as well, that we kind of build on each other and challenge one another in that respect. Because I always also said to you before we met up today that you should explain what is actually a producer. What do actually a producer do for an album? I don't know if you can explain a little bit.
Well, to explain what a producer do is, that's quite tricky, because that could be everything from making the coffee to be a psychologist to make sure everyone's doing fine, to be, there's so many roles, but what I think which is a very important thing being a producer, is to try to get to know the artist you're working with. So you can't treat everyone, like you need to try to treat everyone individually, if you get me. There's a massive difference working with a singer-songwriter and making her or his debut album, or someone like you who's been in the industry since mid-90s, and you kind of come into where you are kind of doing like a sort of comeback. But that's very different. So you just got to read the situation. I think we work together very differently now from what we did the first album. It took you a while to like kind of let the shoulders come down and trust me as a producer. So it's all about building up trust, all about knowing when you're going to be quite strict or say like, no, this is not working. Forget that. Sometimes, you know, you probably hate me a lot of the times, and then you love me. So it's like it's like a good mix. To be able to say that song is not good enough, we've got to do this, but also to build confidence. So it's a very, very complex role to be a producer. But most of all, I think you've got to read the situation.
And I think also it's really important what you said, because when we first started working together in 2013, I had been away from the music scene a long time, for 8 years, and I didn't really know, you know, what to expect, what direction I would go in with my music. So it was very much like an open situation, and you kind of, I mean, you were kind of like thrown into that a little bit. So, what would you say is like the big kind of, for you, has it been like a little journey from 2013 and up until Sørgekoppe now, that is the new single out?
Well, yes, it has, to be honest, because when we started working, I've been working with this for many years with the same artist, and I built up this recording studio in Trondheim, which has become quite successful. But I didn't play that much live, and when we started working together, it was natural for me to play live again, and that's not necessarily an easy step, to be honest, because to produce a record and then play the same material on stage can be a proper pain in the ass, to be honest. Sometimes that can be the worst thing, because you just know you're like, because as a producer in the studio, you kind of you've got 100% control. It's your domain. You can tell, like, all the, everything from all the gear to, it's kind of, you're in my backyard. And that sometimes you can define the rules and all that stuff, and you come up with something you really love together with the artist. You're really proud, but then when you're going to play it live, you kind of meet other people who hasn't probably played the record or whatever, and it's kind of falling apart, and it's just like, no, it didn't sound like this. But then you've got to accept it, that it's a different state. Studio and live is two totally different things. And when you play guitar, and I think that I don't bother when we play live. I'm the guitar player. I'm the last one coming down to the reception. I let all the control go, and I think that's the bigger thing. When I'm producing the record, I'm in control, and I'm the one that need to kind of be on top of the situation to follow the record through. But when we are playing live, it's you and Frode. I'm only the guitar player.
Yeah,
I just come on stage and play.
Yeah. And you are very good at that, actually. You don't take that responsibility.
Sometimes I'm all right. Sometimes I'm probably crap, as most people. But I think that for me, that's a very, very. It's a very. It's not difficult, because I've chosen to let the production thing go when I play live. And a lot of my lines that I played in studio, I don't play them. I really don't play them live, and you come up with something different. And so that's a help for me. I try to think that as two different things.
Yeah. As a question?
Yeah, how this is a question from me, Jostein. I was just thinking about how has playing with Kari live affected you as a producer when you come back into the studio and produce the next album? Has that affected you?
Thinking Kari's albums or in general?
I was thinking about Kari's album, yeah.
Yeah. That's a good question, to be honest. First of all, I have to say, when we started playing with Kari, I was very lucky to meet all the fantastic fans. Probably some of them are online today, and that was an eye opener for me again, to play for so many dedicated people and so many dedicated fans. And I'm, some of them I'm lucky enough now to even call my friends. Definitely on Facebook. So that was an eye opener to see the impact your voice made on people when we were singing live. Whether it was, I think the first gigs we did was outside Norway, was Leipzig, and then we did a couple in Belgium, and since then, so we've been in Brazil, in Chile, in Argentina, in Greece, in Italy. So it was kind of to see how strong your voice are and what it kind of impact it's got on people. And I think that made me trust your voice even more when we went back to the studio. It's, I didn't have a strong relationship to your music before we started working. I remember Spindelsin. I thought that was a really, really nice song when it came out. And I remembered you because we obviously studied at the same university back in the 90s without knowing each other at all. But I think the fact to play live made me realize how strong of a singer and artist you are. And that obviously made a difference when we went back on to produce what's the name of the record? The second one. To the North, which was the first one. And I don't think I could have done that record without playing live with you, because with Time to Tell, everything was very controlled. We did drums first, we did the bass, and then I did the guitars, and we had different. Frode played some keyboards. There was a guy called Trygve played some keyboards. Different people coming in. Then you sang. It's like very traditional way of building up a record. But because after we played live and I saw that strength, I wanted to kind of surprise you a little bit. So obviously, what we did then, we went into the quite famous Partridge studio in Liverpool, and got really, really good musicians around us, and we literally played most of the record live.
That was
And I could have never done that without playing live with you. I wouldn't have trusted that kind of progression or that kind of approach. But because we played so many shows or gigs at that time, we could do it. And I'm really happy. I love all the records we've done. When I listen back to Time to Tell now, I think it's so many great songs on that album. And I love the process. To the North was a different process, which I really, really love, because it was more like a live setting. You had some ideas, we created everything in studio, and it turned out quite good.
Good. I think also that playing live kind of, it's impossible not to take that into the making of the production as well, because it's kind of like two pieces of the same puzzle, to put it that way. And I think that is also a bit strange now when you cannot play live. And I think it's really important what we're doing, like many artists now are doing, that they are still meeting their audience online. But it's, of course, a very different setting. It's a very different setting. And I think when you talk now, I feel like, we have had so many nice experiences with meeting people when we play live, and I really miss that. But we did a session.
You are lucky.
So Frode reminds me, we did a session just a few. I think it's almost 1.5 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, here in Trondheim in Moskus, which was the first online show that we did, and I'm sure you, Jostein, would have been there if you had lived here then. And it was so nice, and it was so very special experience, and I felt that the world came a bit closer that night, because we kind of met everybody online, and I had read so many nice comments afterwards, and I'm so happy that that so many people joined us and share that moment. So it is definitely possible to do online concerts. That is now no, so that's a very good thing. Yeah.
Good. No, there's just going through the comments here. I think you're lucky. You have a lot of good fans. I recognize a few there, like the Belgium show where we had there was something with the car. There was definitely a couple of your fans who were in the audience that had to drive us to the hotel. I think that was that
was really funny.
Class.
That was Class,
I still remember.
I know I saw her. She's watching now.
Yeah. And someone's talking about the Mexico show. I didn't play that gig.
Yeah. No, I just have to say that.
Simona in I can see. So it's people who we met when we were touring, which I like. I really appreciate the chats we have, and what I feel with a lot of these people, they are really into the music. There's not many times as a producer where you kind of there's a guy called John Milton that we sometimes meet in Leipzig in Germany, and you can get like comments like, the thing you did on the second verse with that chord, this is really people listening to the music.
Yeah, and so music lovers.
It's inspiring, to be honest.
Yeah, that's really nice. And I think also we kind of get really close to people. I just need to say that, tell that little story about when we were in Belgium, because after we had finished playing, Jostein and I and Jacques, the sound engineer, we came outside, and there was no taxi. There was nowhere that we could get to the hotel, and everybody says there's no taxis running now, because basically you, Jostein, had been staying too long in the bar, I tell you. And then
no, never.
Claudia offered us a ride in her car. So that was basically how we really got to know her. So that's really nice.
Yeah, there's another interesting, if you don't mind, there's a question here from Hans Mikkel Ødegaard, who's asking, have you had any Spinal Tap moments on tour? And I think, there's been quite a few, to be honest. Like that taxi thing was one thing, but I think the worst one for me, or for both of us, was the thing with the guitar when we were supposed to play. No, we were playing in Germany on the countryside, and we took the train from Berlin, and we jumped off a train station, and that was like the direct train to Amsterdam. And we had a guitar, different things, but obviously coming out of the train was on, and we were literally far from any, I can't remember the name, but it was definitely on the countryside. And I'm saying to Kari, my guitar is still on the train. And we were playing a gig in 3 or 4 hours time, and my guitar was on his way to Amsterdam. That was very often I'm the calm one, but I panicked totally. So Kari, you were kind of relaxed, and I said like, okay, we need to find out what we do now. So we started phoning up, and we ended up phoning a train station on the way, because what would have happened here, obviously my Gibson Les Paul, quite expensive one, would have ended up in Amsterdam, would probably been sent to Norway, whatever, and there wouldn't have been any gig because there was no guitars to find there. But we managed to phone that station up and spoke to them and said like, yeah, the train is coming here within 3 minutes. So yeah, leave it with me. So that guy we spoke to, he ran into the train and managed to grab the guitar and run out again and sent it in a taxi. And that was 2 hours taxi drive with the guitar. So the guitar came 1 hour before the gig, and we played the gig. Yeah. That was close to Spinal Tap, to be honest.
That was a special experience. But I'm so happy with that person working at the train station, because he really did a good job running after your guitar. So
yeah.
But also you did a very lousy job for getting it on the train, though. But it can happen to anyone. It can. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any more questions for Jostein, I think?
Yeah, it was one for both of you, I think. Maybe Kari first and then Jostein from Leonardo Lopez. He was asking what music were you listening to when you made the album?
I was very much listening to because I knew that, because we're not going to talk that much about the album, because I just said we're going to talk about that a bit later. But
or when you wrote Sergei.
Because when I wrote the music for this album and Sørgekoppe, I wanted to I decided quite early on that it was going to be in Norwegian, so I kind of started listening to Norwegian singers, folk songs, and somebody also asked me earlier in the stream, I don't really remember the name, but do you compose outside or indoors? And I think it's a combination for me, because I really like to be outside in the nature and kind of take in perspectives and kind of bring the outside in a way, to kind of find those tranquil moments in the music. So that will be basically one of my preparations for writing the songs. I don't know, Jostein, about you?
It's very hard, because I listen to so much music all the time, everything from stuff I've always been listening to, like we were speaking about King Crimson, but also I love my Led Zeppelin, the Who, all that stuff. So it's very hard, because I can't really, I don't think I can give like an exact answer what I was listening to. was listening to your demo probably.
Yeah, that's good. That's really good.
But I remember, Jostein, when you asked me to come to studio and play on the songs, you asked me to listen to a couple of records, but
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's
the
true.
Robert Plant
Yeah,
record.
no, yeah. No, there was one album with that when I wanted both the drummer to listen to of the and the bass player and the likes of yourself, and that was one of Robert Plant's latest solo albums. I always admire his kind of capacity to never stop. He's always on the move, and some of his later albums are absolutely amazing. And there's that mix between the folkiness and the kind of rock approach. Yeah, that's right. I've forgotten that, to be honest, but that's true. Yeah, and I think if you listen to that record, there's a couple of the songs, we can come back to that later, but that you could probably hear that we've been listening a little bit to that album. Yeah,
good. I think that we can leave it there, because I want to invite you back when we have we're closer to the album release. The album will be out May 8th, so that weekend I was thinking we could do another stream session, and that we could talk a little bit more about the actual making of this album. So that is also called Sørgekoppe, and also play some more songs from that album. Yeah, so we'll leave it at that for now, Jostein. So thank you so much for joining, and it's been such a nice conversation. And
I'm going back to my lamb and red wine, I think.
Yeah,
and
yeah, you should definitely do.
And I hope I hope to see you all soon, live somewhere. You know,
we are going to play. We have put down a few gigs already in November in Leipzig and Hamburg, which is very good.
And I saw there was a question. I have to say, hopefully, your booking manager is listening to this as well. There was a question yesterday about John Milton has just come on the show as well, which we spoke about earlier. There was a question whether there was any shows in UK.
Yeah, Haley Naper also asked.
And I would love, obviously, to do a gig in Liverpool. And why don't you just try to do a couple of shows in UK?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah. Let's try and do that. And also, Marcelo Silva Lagos asked if we could play in Madrid, and that would also be awesome, because I've never been to Madrid. So.
Well, that would be fantastic for me. I've been in Madrid once, and that was last May when Liverpool won the Champions League final against Tottenham. So my memories from Madrid is absolutely fantastic. So I would love to go back to Madrid another time.
And everybody sees your background can imagine that you're a Liverpool fan. So yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Okay, then we'll speak soon.
Okay, thank you.
So when Jostein decides to leave now, I just wanted to play one more song, because many of you have requested songs, and that's awesome to hear, because it's different albums and different settings. But many of you have said, can we play Winter Song? So I thought I'd play Winter Song. It's also because it's, of course, snowing outside here in Trondheim, so it would be a good way of cherishing the winter. Frode, have you any comments now? Because you said no. That's good. I will. Yeah. Let me just come to that.
back to the place I was born. Between love and hate I'm torn. I'm not turning back, I'm not turning back now. I let go of your warm hand. Life has changed from where I stand. I'm not turning back, I'm not turning back now. But I don't think that you will agree to hear me. I don't think that you will agree. Here's a winter song, here's for those who long for brighter days and a summer haze. I cannot lie, I can no longer wait. This time of year you will find me here with my shattered dream. Things are not as they seem, an unbeliever's only winter song. There was a time when I could hear you say, life is nothing if you don't stay. I'm not turning back, I'm not turning back now. You're looking good as I'm about to leave. Nothing here, nothing more to achieve. So I'm not turning back, I'm not turning back now. But I don't think that you will agree to hear me. I don't think that you will agree. Here's a winter song, here's for those who long for brighter days and a summer haze. I cannot lie, I can no longer wait. This time of year you will find me here with my shattered dream. Things are not as they seem, an unbeliever's only winter song. Here's a winter song, here's for those who long for brighter days and a summer haze. I cannot lie, I can no longer wait. This time of year you will find me here with my shattered dream. Things are not as they seem, an unbeliever's only winter song. There was a time when I could hear you say, life is nothing if you don't stay. I'm not turning back, I'm not turning back now.
Okay, thank you for being here. And I had one more questions I wanted to. Questions. Yeah, many people have asked about the Third and the Mortal, and I just wanted to say that it's very nice and it's good questions. And if we will ever come back together or play together live, I don't know. Maybe in future we can't tell. But I do a few of Third and Mortal songs in my concert shows. We have done Otto Poema, where Frode plays the piano, and we have also done a version of Why So Lonely, featuring Thomas Holopainen from Nightwish on piano. And so maybe more of that. That would also be something that we could look into live. I think I will leave it at that for now. And
Ska vi spela en sång?
no, I wasn't. Yeah. I will play some more songs later. And I would like to invite you back also. So I hope that you have had a nice time here with us, and yeah, I wish you all the best. Take care of each other and yourself, and hopefully see you again soon.